"If you have a balance, I'll pay double," mocked the manager, not knowing he was the bank's owner. And before continuing, don't forget to comment which country you're watching from. That morning, the gray-bearded man in worn clothes entered the bank with tired steps, leaning on the counter as if carrying entire years of invisible defeats. Nobody knew him. Nobody imagined why he had decided to return on that particular day. He just wanted simple information, something any customer deserved to receive without mockery. The manager, a young man in an impeccable suit, looked up only to size him up from top to bottom, pursing his lips with a mixture of superiority and boredom, while some employees behind him smiled uncomfortably, hoping the man would leave soon and stop ruining the harmony of the place. But he, with a low and firm voice, asked if he could check the status of his account. The manager let out a dry laugh, pointing at him as if he were facing a walking joke. "Balance? Seriously? You come asking about a balance? Look at your clothes, buddy. If you have a balance, I'll pay double," he said, provoking laughter from two more employees. Nobody had the courage to stop him. Nobody thought that phrase could become a mistake that would haunt his memory for years. The man didn't respond immediately. He pressed his hands on the counter and took a deep breath, as if the humiliation mixed with something deeper he had been carrying for too long. He had returned to observe how people were being treated in his absence, but he didn't imagine receiving that direct blow to his pride. He wasn't looking for a fight, just truth. "I just need to know if my account is still active," he murmured. But the manager raised an eyebrow and gestured to a security guard. "Escort him to the exit. We don't have time to waste with people who come begging," he said, with a smile that hurt more than any shove. The security guard hesitated. He knew the bank had strict protocols and that expelling a customer without reason was serious. "Sir, at least let me verify," he tried to say, but the manager interrupted him. "Or do you want me to remind you who signs your evaluations, Michael?" The tense environment made several employees exchange uncomfortable glances. A woman in the back bit her lip, clearly wanting to intervene but fearing losing her job. Nobody had moved a finger for months, and the work climate was rotten. The man knew that those tense smiles hid fear, not malice. When the security guard approached, the man raised his hand. "It's okay. I don't want problems." His eyes showed more disappointment than anger. However, before he took a step toward the exit, a different voice broke the silence. "Wait a moment. What's happening here?" It was an employee from accounting, a serious woman accustomed to dealing with numbers, not injustices. She had heard part of the conversation, and something about that scene seemed deeply wrong to her. "He asked for information. We should help him," she said. The manager clicked his tongue. "Jennifer, don't interfere. Take care of your reports." But the woman remained firm. The silence became heavy and uncomfortable. Finally, someone had had the courage to interrupt that humiliation. The man looked at her with gratitude and took a step in her direction, but the manager blocked the situation again, extending a form without even looking. "Want information? Fill this out, although I doubt people like you have anything to complain about." The phrase made the man lower his gaze, not out of shame, but because he was assessing how far that young man would go in his cruelty. It was evident that the manager enjoyed the power, even if small and temporary. And it was then that the narrator's voice seemed to infiltrate the man's thoughts. Remember, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to leave your like, subscribe, and comment what you think. The man took the form. His fingers trembled for an instant, not from fear, but from the overwhelming mixture of memories and decisions that were to come. He didn't reveal anything, didn't defend himself, nor demanded the respect he deserved. Not yet. The employees' gazes followed him as he walked to a nearby table to fill out the paper, and the manager watched from afar, not suspecting he had just dug his own professional grave. Jennifer, the accounting employee, saw him sit down and felt an almost visceral impulse to help him. Something told her that man wasn't who everyone thought.
Something in his posture, in his silence, in his way of enduring humiliation, revealed a weight that didn't belong to someone helpless. But before she could approach, the manager spoke again, this time lower, with a tone of private mockery. "I want to see how long it takes him to give up." The man looked up, not at the manager, but at the large bank windows, and in his eyes there was a firmness that showed giving up was not an option. And what would come next, nobody in that place was prepared to see.
Jennifer took only one step in his direction when he raised his eyes from the crumpled form. There was a dangerous calm in them, one that didn't need to shout or threaten to be felt. The manager continued looking at him with arrogance, convinced he had reduced him to obedience. But the man stood up slowly, left the pen on the table, and walked to the center of the hall. Nobody understood what was about to happen, and everyone held their breath as if the air had become heavy. "I'm finished," he said, leaving the form on the manager's counter. The young man took it without interest, folded it without reading, and set it aside. "Perfect, you can go now," he responded, with a hand gesture, like someone brushing dust off a table. But the man didn't move. He remained there firm, with a posture that completely changed the energy around him. Jennifer frowned. Michael, the security guard, felt a strange impulse to stand by his side, for there was something deeply respectable about that presence that until then everyone had ignored. The manager snapped his fingers to hurry him, but the man interrupted him with a clear voice that cut through the bank's silence. "You didn't hear me," he said, "but what I didn't hear was respect." The manager let out an exaggerated laugh. "Respect? You only asked to check a non-existent account. You wasted your time." The man took a deep breath. "Is that what you think?" Then he extended his hand to Jennifer. "Could you please check the form I handed in? I think you should read it." She hesitated, but the manager made a brusque gesture to ignore him. Still, Jennifer felt a different responsibility, something that prevented her from turning her back. She took the paper and opened it. Her expression changed immediately. First disbelief, then surprise, then a deep respect that made her straighten up as if she were before an authority. The manager, irritated, tried to take it, but she quickly pulled it away. "Sir, why didn't you say anything?" The man gave a slight smile. "I was observing." Michael took a step forward. Who are you, sir?" Jennifer swallowed hard, looking at everyone. "The name on this form is the name of the bank's owner." The manager let out a nervous laugh, reached out and snatched the paper, but when he read the signature, his face lost color and his hands began to tremble. The silence became crushing, and none of the employees dared to blink. The man took a step toward the manager. "I came without warning because I wanted to know how you were treating people, my customers, my employees. And what I found here was abuse, arrogance, and fear." The young man tried to regain control. "Sir, I didn't know. I was just trying to—" "No, you weren't trying to help," the man interrupted. "You were trying to humiliate, and nobody deserves that." Jennifer felt tears arise. Michael lowered his head with respect, and the other employees fell silent, as if finally someone had said out loud what everyone had kept inside for too long. The man took a deep breath. "I thank those who tried to intervene, even if only with a look. That says a lot about you." Then he pointed at the manager. "And you will have to answer for your actions, not only for how you treated me today, but for the environment you created here." The manager stood petrified, speechless, realizing his career had ended right there. The owner turned to Jennifer. "Thank you for your courage. We need more people like you in this bank." She lowered her head, emotional. Before leaving, he looked at everyone one last time. "Remember, appearances deceive, but dignity doesn't, and respect always reveals who we really are." The door closed slowly behind him, leaving a silence full of admiration and relief, as if that moment had returned humanity to everyone present.